we want to do is continue a little bit on the topic that we covered to a large extent in our first episode, which concerns this transgender activism. You know, this is sweeping the country, and you know, this is, in my personal view, one, it's emotional. There's no scientific basis in the stuff that they're doing to our kids.
Right.
And two, it is full of hate. If you don't agree with me, if you don't stand by my position, I hate you. And
well, and you are, you know, you are a hater because you speak out against it. You know, how could you dare prevent a 13-year-old child from cutting off her breast? You know, I mean, who are you to speak up to that? You know, and so they'll do everything from call us Christian nationalists to, you know, we're just old religious people that don't really, we're not in touch with what's going on. And this is just their attempt to make us look like the bad person in all of this stuff. But what we're seeing is that it just continues to get more gross and more deformed and more out of control.
Wrong is right.
Yeah, right. And we're seeing, you know, these very, very demonstrative examples of people who are so disfigured that they don't even look like people anymore.
Yeah, it's hard to understand where this how this swept the country like it did, and how we can get the full faith and credit of the federal government. The President of the United States can stand up and say, this is a good thing. We need to provide protections to this wrong is right, immoral versus moral, upside down, anti-American, I would say, completely behavior. It's like, I don't know what to do with it.
Well, and I mean, I remember when Barack Obama was the guy who got behind homosexual marriage and legalizing it as a, you know, for our entire nation. And when that happened, the homosexual community at that point became militant, and they were no longer looking for acceptance. They were no longer wanting people to be supportive of them. They wanted to take over. So much so that recently they made a song about it. We're coming for your children. And that, you know, that song with all of these different people singing and, you know, this nice melody, almost comical song about we're coming for your children. We're going to get them. And that's the militant agenda.
Yeah, the indoctrination is extraordinary.
Yeah, and we're looking at this guy right here, which just absolutely grosses me out, from Oakville High School up in Canada, who's an industrial arts teacher. We're going to show you that picture on the screen. I mean, when you see this is something that the Canadian government is endorsing. They're standing with this person.
And against anybody that speaks up against it.
Right. And you, as a parent, you can't stop it. You can't come in and say, that's wrong, or that's not in the, you know, it's a wrong according to my values, which come from the Bible, and you can't do it.
Yeah. And if you're a parent and you are, again, back to the election, and you're saying, well, why should I vote Republican instead of Democrat? Well, gee, it's this gender expression thing that is coming down the pike. You know, you look at that picture and you go, what is the kid supposed to think?
Right.
How do you, again, have the boldness, the knowledge and the boldness to speak out against this kind of, I would call it obscenity.
Right. I mean, right here in our state, I'm on my way down here to do this podcast this morning. I see signs in people's yards with the name Stacey Abrams on them, who is running for governor. Most people don't realize this, but she has written novels that are pornographic, pornographic novels. She has made statements in public that are bold, and she's talking about, you know, how to support these people, how to stand with these kinds of people who are in favor of transgender activism.
Yeah, and we mentioned in our last episode how she denies a fetal heartbeat at 6 weeks.
Right.
Denies it. Denies that she lost the election in 2018.
Right.
Refuses to admit. She is unabashedly extremely liberal. Georgia, the worst state in the country. You remember we changed our election laws, and she goes, Georgia is the worst state in the country. Did you know, you should know if you don't, that Georgia had the highest turnout, early voting turnout in its history after the laws were changed.
Right, right.
Stacey Abrams denies all that. She thinks she's going to change Georgia for the better.
You're right, right. And, you know, she was behind a lot of the voting laws getting changed with these ballot boxes and, you know, mail-in votes and a lot of that stuff. That was her agenda. But you have to understand that a person like this is not, you know, living from the truth. They have an agenda, and that agenda is very manipulative. And at the end of the day, it's very evil. And listen, Jesus says to the church, you cannot tolerate Jezebel. Am I associating Stacey Abrams with Jezebel? Yes. If you can't see it, you need to go read your Bible.
Yeah, I was looking at a couple other notes I have here. She also, if you haven't seen the video, quite clearly made the statement that she wanted to defund the police.
Yes.
How does that happen? We just had somebody, it was, in Minnesota, I think it was. A young man, an 18-year-old, got into a political discussion with a 41-year-old man, and it sounded like it was in a bar.
Yeah.
And they had a disagreement. And guess what? The 41-year-old man not only murdered him, the 18-year-old, over a political difference of opinion. Right. He chased him and ran him down with his vehicle.
Right.
And, you know, he was let out, cashless bail, after murdering somebody, vehicular homicide, intentional.
Right.
Let him out.
I mean, the boy has his mom on the phone hollering, help me, this man is chasing me. And I mean, this is horrific. Yeah. And because he's a conservative Republican, that's tucked away in the news. You know, it's not.
They call him an extremist, I think.
Of course. And this is the agenda. And before it's over with, where we're going to end up is that anybody who is speaking out, well, you know, Biden can say that we're all violent people, but when it comes out that they are the ones who are propagating the violence, it's nuts. But, you know, it's easy to trail into all of this stuff. But when we look at the foundation of the transgender movement, our children are at risk, okay? And they are the next generation. And if we don't stand up and do something, you know, parents have to understand you have to tell your children no. Even when they're teenagers, you have to get between them and the choices that they're making, and you have to put your foot down, and you have to say, no, you're not going to be allowed to do these things. No is oftentimes very protective. And so as parents, you have a biblical mandate to discipline your children. And a big part of that is saying no and teaching them. I have a teenage son, and he's asked me questions about homosexuality and the transgender thing. I open my Bible and I show him where these things are addressed in the Word of God, and I talk to him about it. And I help him understand why God does not want us to do these things. Because ultimately, they're self-destructive. And we're seeing the testimonies of these young people coming out now who are saying they wish they had never done it.
Right. It's the rock.
Yes.
The foundation, you know, the morality of it. It's the foundation of our country. It's just scattered all through both our Declaration of Independence and our Constitution. And, and it's like, we don't want to teach that because we want youth to not know. We don't want them to be aware.
Yeah.
It's horrible. But I can't imagine a 41-year-old man going, well, he was an extremist in political views. I felt threatened, so to protect myself, I ran over him with my car.
Then justify it, right? I mean, like, stand up in front of people and justify it.
Yeah.
You know, like, I did the right thing by killing my political opponent who was an 18-year-old boy.
Yeah.
This is wrong.
Exactly. Can for a second, or two or three, bring up this, again, I'm thinking voting, moms, and I'm thinking about past demographics where suburban moms went way for the Democrats and they got what they asked for, and now they all regret it. And it's like, let's go to the board meetings because they're doing some awful things to the kids that we thought were right. I want to just for a second address drag queens. You know, this notion, is this okay?
Oh yeah, let's jump in.
This notion that you can have public library hour or you can have shows for kids, prepubescent kids, with drag queens. So the drag queens, which are homosexual men dressed as women, they wear, you know, they have it's hard to fathom, the 5-day shadow, the poofy hair, the mascara, the dress, the thong. I mean, you're talking about some serious... and normally they would perform in gay nightclubs and stuff. They'd do a lot of singing and dancing, and they'd tell you know, body jokes, and they would be entertainers.
Right.
Well, now they're entertaining children. Not homosexual men who are at the bar having a good time together. They're entertaining children by reading storybooks and talking about how this is a good thing. And I look at that, and I have trouble not thinking about Disneyland.
Right.
You know, children are young, they're impressionable.
Right.
They believe the adults. They listen to what they're being told. They're respectful and obedient. And so then you get drag queens sitting down reading them stories. And my question is, why? Why does an adult man, a homosexual, dressed as a drag queen, need to read stories to 5 or 10-year-old kids, or perform dances where kids are taught to stuff dollar bills in their thongs?
Right.
Why?
Right. Well, I think the why is that because they believe that's normal, and they believe that what they're doing deserves attention. They are seeking attention, and at the core of it, they are looking for validation. And it is no longer something that they do in hidden places. They're doing it in public. And their goal is to make themselves look normal. And I mean, and
be accepted as normal.
And the goal is acceptance, but at the end of the day, what they're really doing is they're cramming it down our throats and saying, you will accept this.
Could they be grooming?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. So that is it. It's the grooming and preparing the next generation to think, hey, I used to do this as a kid.
Yeah.
You know?
I was, the grooming thing just drives me crazy. I don't understand.
Well, I mean, the next step is the legalization of pedophilia.
Well, exactly. And if you have the Equality Act, guess what happens? You know, you go back history. I think most people know that pedophiles, child molesters, were housed and protected in the Catholic Church for a very long time.
Right.
And, you know, that was their refuge, right? And then, more recently, we had the Boy Scouts.
Right.
You know, there was a bit.
Right.
Well, where did they go? They didn't just suddenly disappear.
Right.
So the pedophiles, in my opinion, and without proof, I might add, have found a home in the trans community. Now, I have seen some evidence of trans videos where they're talking about pedophilia. They're minor.
Going too far.
They're minor attracted people, but they'll never act on their impulses, and they'll never molest a child.
Right.
And you're going, I don't think so. But the federal government, with the Equality Act that you're going to vote on in favor of, is something that you need to think about.
That's right.
And the point is that if it passes, if you vote Democrat and they pass this thing, transgenderism will be codified in law. Right. And guess where the pedophiles will be protected class? And guess where else the pedophiles have gone? Schools.
Churches
and schools. So you now have, and we'll continue this thread just a little bit longer after the break, but you now have protected pedophiles, protected by the government and by teachers' unions. So we'll be back in just a minute, and we'll continue our conversation.
Today, we are taking on a very important opponent of truth, the Reverend Raphael Warnock.
Yes, sir. We sure are. The Reverend, the Reverend of Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta.
Right.
Where the home of
Mr. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s church. Okay. So this is an acclaimed title, right? I mean, to be the pastor of this church is a very special thing, but the Reverend doesn't necessarily share Dr. King's values.
Not even close. And you know, one of the things you can read, look at that.
Yeah. This is straight out of the Reverend's mouth. He says, we should repent for the worship of whiteness. I will go directly to take care of that. There will be no peace in America until white people begin to hate their whiteness. Hate their whiteness. Asking from the depths of their being, how can we become black?
How does Dr. King not roll over in his grave over that?
Yeah, right.
How does he not do that? And John Lewis, you know, who he actually called President Trump illegitimate along with the other 60 people. It's like, what's going on at that church? Historical doesn't mean biblical truth, right?
Right. Well, and at the end of the day, what's the biblical precedent for this? Where is the scripture that says that it is all about race? It doesn't say that. It says that there is no Jew, there is no Greek. That it does away with the Gentile. It does away with, when we become Christians, we become one nation. We become one people. And we are no longer held to whether we're black or we're white. These are way down the list. And yet there's this whole movement as a result of guys like this who think that white people just need to repent because they were born white. Yeah. And I've actually heard white ministers get up in the pulpit and say these things. I'm sorry for being white. And what I want to know is, what's the impact? How did that help anybody? It didn't. It's pandering. It's not helping. Yeah. And it's really embracing one of these big fat lies.
Can I ask you another question?
Please.
Again, we're talking about a reverend of a historical church with a very large congregation, a very large following. And he says, he's running for re-election as a senator from the state of Georgia.
Yes.
And he says that abortion is consistent with his biblical views. Now, you know, and again, me with my lowbrow knowledge of the Bible thinks, I think back to a couple of things like knowing him in the womb, he leapt with joy.
Yeah. Right. So, well, this is you've got Elizabeth and you've got Mary. Elizabeth, the mother of John the Baptist, and Mary, the mother of Jesus, and they get together and the babies are talking in the womb, you know. And so this is, life begins in the womb. It does not begin when the baby comes out and starts crying. And so how can Christians support someone like the Reverend Warnock and still can say, this is what gets me? How can you vote for a guy like this? How can you stand with this and say that you are a Christian? Because we know, you know, I mean, it's the Psalm. You know, I have plans for you when I knit you together in your mother's womb. You know, this is when life is beginning. And so how can you go against the Bible in favor of Reverend Raphael Warnock? How can that be?
Yeah, I find it completely baffling, just as much so as when he made you male and female.
Right.
I mean, come on.
Yes.
What's going on here? So there's a lot of things that he stands for. We watched something on Wednesday morning, and at the end of the sermon, the man comes up and he goes, I took copious notes about a presentation a person made, a testimony of what occurs in life. Well, this is me taking copious notes here. But look at some of these things. He says, Raphael Warnock, running for senator, why should you vote for Herschel Walker? He says Marxism is useful. Now, I'm thinking about the family unit again. You've got the reverend who says abortion is consistent with his biblical views, who also supports Marxism, which is farther down the road than socialism, which is
Right.
what? The destruction of the family unit.
Right.
So I'm trying to understand how that works.
Right. Well, what I think you're seeing is you're seeing someone who is manipulating the scriptures, who's taking his position in the community, and he's pandering to the weaknesses of minorities who feel like there is a lack of equality. And this is because they've been told this their entire lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what he's doing is he's touching on those issues because he knows that those people are already feeling, like things aren't fair. And so he's trying to manipulate that feeling. He's not helping them. He's not helping and empowering them to rise up like a Ben Carson and, overcome what's going on in the culture. He's trying to actually cause you to be dependent on him.
Yeah, he's not even pretending to say, my personal view as a reverend is this,
Right.
but as your senator from the state, I need to represent all people. Therefore,
Right.
I ascribe to this view as a politician as opposed to this. He believes this kind of stuff.
Right.
He strongly supports LGBTQ rights. So
Yes.
now we're back to
Right.
he wants this stuff going on in our public schools. Like in Oregon, for example, where the school boards and school systems are now putting tampons in boys' restrooms.
Right.
It's like,
Right,
okay,
right.
and the one that really, really gets to me, and I'm going to just leap off into my area of expertise for a minute here, is the military.
Right.
You're looking at voting in November. I think that we've provided a fair bit of information why you do not want the equality, as high mighty sounding as the Equality Act is. You don't want that. You
Right.
don't want gender expression in your high schools or
Right.
your elementary schools.
Right.
What about the military? Can you imagine the good order and discipline that you're supposed to have as a cohesive fighting unit? Whether it's actually, I should also say, in deference to my camera operator,
Right.
the police around the United States, law enforcement.
Right.
It's the same thing. If you integrate gender expression, they're already having tremendous amount of retention issues.
Right.
All the expertise left the law enforcement. A lot of expertise has left the military. There's always a certain amount of turnover, but things are so bad now, and I would submit because of vaccinations, people left the military who didn't want them. People don't want to go in because they don't want to take the mandatory vaccination. But it's also this teaching.
Right.
Equality is good. So if you want to be transgender expressive, I'm trying to picture an officer by day and a gender expressionist, if you will, by night, walking into the O Club with prosthetic breasts and long hair. Like that's perfectly normal. There's some good cohesion in law and order.
Right.
But to make matters even worse, again, in terms of the LGBTQ issues, and how do you raise your little boy or girl to be normal in an abnormal world, is suppose you're in the military, you're a family, husband and wife, and maybe you're stationed overseas. My wife and I spent 2 years in Japan while I was on active duty. I used to fly off the USS Midway. So, he's gone to, he or she, whoever the military person has bitten the bullet and gotten their vaccination. And they're trying to save their career. They've been in 10, 15 years, and it's like, okay, I'm going along because I have a goal at the end. And then you go overseas and you have to put your kids in DOD schools. Did you know that?
Right.
I mean, how do you educate kids when they go over, American kids when they go? Well, there's 160 K-12 schools around the world. So all of a sudden, the military posture and policy is CRT.
Right.
And the use of racism to compensate for past indiscretions
Right.
of racism. So your kid now is a captive. You've bitten the bullet. You don't agree with everything they're saying, but you bit the bullet. And now they're saying your kids have to subscribe to this. What do you
Right.
do as a military parent? And the one that really emphasizes that when we talk about gender expression and this guy and teaching in the high school is, and we've talked also about boys being swimming champions. Joining girls' sports teams, professional men declaring themselves women and taking monetary purses in professional sports. And the one that drives me crazy is we've got an assistant secretary of health. It's a guy, a biological male who was appointed in 2020 by President Biden.
Yes.
His name he goes by is Rachel Levine, and he's a 4-star admiral.
Right.
Never served a day in the military in his life, but he's a 4-star admiral. And you gotta scratch your head and you go, well, let's see. I graduated from the Naval Academy in 1974. The first women graduates were 1979.
Wow.
To be a 4-star admiral in the military, you've got to be in for like 35 years, which means that women who as career naval officers who went through the process right around 2014-15 became senior enough, experienced enough, proved their worth in peace and battle to become 4-star admirals. She gets appointed by President Biden as a 4-star admiral and stands up and says, the biological male, I am proud to be the first female 4-star admiral in the Navy.
Well, there it is. And the reality is that from the Reverend Raphael Warnock, what we're getting is we're getting policies that are gutting our military. I so respect the journey and service that Tom has given to our country. I tease him as the Top Gun pilot here, but the reality is that even our military is being weakened by these policies, and the transgender LGBTQ plus agenda. It is gutting our military, and so the good people are leaving and not coming back. And so we're going to be stuck with people who are there because, by default, the strong have left, which is weakening our country. So folks, you have got to vote. You have got to get involved. We need poll watchers. We need people to help us protect the vote.
Yes.
Okay? We need folks not only voting, we need folks to protect the vote. And we need to be watchers, watchdogs. We need to get out there and we need to do our job and band together as a community and tell Reverend Raphael Warnock, no thanks. You are welcome to go to your church and preach these lies, but you're not going to lead our country and preach these lies.
And Stacey Warren Abrams can write her soft porn.
Yeah. Stacey, you can write all the novels you want to write, but you're not going to be the governor of the state of Georgia. Sorry, we don't want you, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So this is very significant, and we're talking about these things head on, and I appreciate Tom's input, but we got to do this, all right? Stay tuned. You'll see us next time.